Hello, my lovely friends. Hello, my friends. Hello, my friends. Hello, my friends. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. I just want to say this is my 10th time filming this video because the perfectionist in me is just on fire today. So this is what we're gonna do. I press that record button. I don't care what I sound like. I don't care what I look like. I don't care what comes out of my mouth. I'm going to press that upload button because that is just what we have to do sometimes to take care of the perfectionist in us. We just gotta press that upload button. So as you can see from the title of this video, we are going to set up our bullet journals for the second half of the year. I have a couple things I want to go over before we get into the drawing portion. So why don't we get into it? Hi everyone! Before we get into the new setup for the second half of the year, I just wanted to go over a couple of things. This journal is my old journal for the first half of the year. It's from a brand called Secus that I got from Amazon, and it will be linked down below. The second journal, this journal, the new journal, is by Notebook Therapy. They sent it over to me and it's my first journal from them. It is the normal A5 size. I have already started using it. I know I'm late in creating my setup pages, but as I've said before, late is better than never. I'm just glad we are finally getting into the setup now. Let's go over each page from my old journal one by one to see what I will be recreating or not recreating. This page, I will be creating an intro page, a quote page, because I like to have, well, I'll go into a little bit more detail of my whys or my intentions behind the pages later, so we can just keep it a little bit simple. My calendars, I will be recreating. I am not going to recreate a grid. I don't know if I'm ever going to create a grid page again because I'm finding that I'm not really using it. Most of my layouts do not use the page from every single edge. I usually leave a border around, so the grid just doesn't really work for me. I don't know, I might change my mind later, but for now I am just scrapping this idea. I will recreate my future logs from July to December. So nothing from before that. I am not going to recreate a content collaboration or giveaway page because there's plenty of room left here that I'm sure it'll last me for the rest of the year. I'm not going to be recreating my period tracker. I still have the rest of the months left. I don't think it's necessary for me to take up space in my new journal because of that. I am going to redo my intentions page. It's because one, I don't have enough room here. Two, my intentions have changed for the rest of the year. I may want to update them a little bit. It'll just be nice to kind of separate the year in halves. I think the short-term time frame is a lot easier to digest in terms of your goals or your intentions. I like to call them intentions. My plant tracker. This page was fun for me to create. It's beautiful for me to look at, but did I use it very much? If I did use it, it was basically because I already track the days I water my plants on my phone. So I was finding that I would transfer over the dates from my phone into my journal, which was just adding another step, which was taking up time. I was kind of resenting it a little bit, like I don't need to do this. It's already all on my phone. So, you know, I don't think I need to like create every part of my life that I track and have it be in my bullet journal. I can actually utilize my phone for certain things. I really like this page because it's so beautiful and I liked creating it. Maybe I need to find a new way to track my watering dates. It's just, I don't want to carry my bullet journal around when I'm watering my plants because I don't want water to get spilled. I don't have more than 2 hands, so I can't carry my watering can plus my journal plus a pen, and my new journal doesn't even have a pen loop. It just seems a little inconvenient. So for now, I am scrapping this page. My bujo ideas and YouTube ideas page. I am recreating these pages, but they will be in a different format and layout, which I will get into later. My reading tracker page. These are the books that I am tracking for my Patreon book club. We read a new book every single month. I like to go over my thoughts, my process, my reflections in this section at the end of the month. I am not going to be recreating it because there's plenty of room left. perfect. I am, however, creating a new reading page or a book list page, which I'll get into that later. This page, it's about the things I need to look up or the hobbies I'd like to explore or my wish list. I am not going to recreate this. I have a different way to maybe go about doing this, but the things I need to look up, I am not going to go to my journal to write everything that comes to my brain because I don't have my journal on me at all times of the day. I have my phone, however, so I will be utilizing my phone a lot more and being intentional about that instead of trying to use my bullet journal for things that I just am not going to end up using, and knowingly I'm not going to use it even though like I'm trying to force it. I don't know if that makes sense, but I have other layouts that I do want to explore. My affirmations page, I am not going to recreate this. I have room left. I do like creating like self-care pages that are on a month-to-month basis, so I'm not recreating this, but I will finish the rest of the layout as the year progresses. My monthly review page. I am so happy I created this page because I just look through everything I've written in the previous months, and then I also write down how I felt at the end of the month that had just gone by, and it's nice to see my growth and my progress throughout the year. I'm not going to recreate this. There's plenty of room left. It would be unnecessary. And I do want to see what this page looks like as a whole. Like, I want to be able to have a whole complete page that has to do with every single month of the year at the end of the year. This page is going to stay. That is all for the setup pages. Hopefully that made sense. I'm sure it will make more sense when I get into the new bullet journal. So a little bit about this bullet journal. It has an elastic strap. It has 2 bookmarks. It has no pen loop, but it has a pocket in the back. It is 160 GSM, just like all the other journals I've been using. And it has this nice quote here. It says, "We'll stroll through Nara beneath the autumn leaves and alongside dappled lawns." I love it. It has to do with, I think, the emblem in the front. Is it called an emblem? I don't know. I think I always have a problem with that. As you can see, I did already start using my bullet journal before I did my setup pages, and actually that's a nice tip that maybe I'd like to tell you, that if you're just starting out with bullet journaling, if it's overwhelming for you, forget the beginning pages. You do not need to do them. I didn't do them when I first started bullet journaling. It just added an extra unnecessary step of feeling overwhelmed. I honestly just created the cover page and some weeklies. I kept it very simple, and as I got more accustomed to using my bullet journal, I started adding more and more and just took on things little by little. Anyways, I think I went over everything. We can begin the setup pages for my new bullet journal. Okay, so let's begin by filling in who this book belongs to. Obviously, it belongs to me, so I'm going to be writing in my name, Artie. Now, going into the cover page, the first page of this bullet journal, I want to keep it very, very simple, kind of similar to last year's cover page, except this one says, "Well, hello again, 2021," and I went with a botanical little doodle, sparkles, and some washi tape. By the way, let's just get this out of the way right now. Everything that I am going to be outlining, the headers, the monthly numerical calendars, the outlining for the doodles and the borders are all going to be done in a Sakura fine liner in sepia tone. Well, multiple Sakura fine liners, so all ranging from 003, and then I think the highest I go up might be a 02 or a 03. You all know how much I love my Sakura sepia toned fine liners. Now let's get into the quote page for the second half of the year. I went with a full page bleed of a botanical pattern. I think it looks minimal, classy, sophisticated, maybe a little feminine, well, whatever the world defines the word feminine as, which is probably the floral pink and pretty like this, obviously. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it looks masculine just to give the world a big F you. Sorry to get a little bit aggressive right there. Wait, am I apologizing right there? Yes, I am. Sorry, not sorry. Moving on, the quote says, "Pain can break your heart, but it will never break you." And the inspiration for this quote came from, I'd say, the last 2 years. Honestly, 2020 and 2021 kind of just blur into one whole year for me. I went through multiple breakups with the same person. I had my ego completely shattered on multiple different occasions. All of our health has been compromised because of the pandemic and COVID. Our social interactions have been more infrequent. Essentially, our basic human needs have been compromised on such a deep level. And honestly, I constantly just feel like I'm going through an existential crisis like every second of every single day, where I'm absolutely terrified of losing myself, forgetting myself, or going through multiple bouts of anxiety and depression every other week. And I'm PMSing right now, so all of that may or may not have come from my sensitive, very, very sensitive brain right now. But one thing I do know for sure is that I can go through anything, any difficult experience. I can lose things, people, relationships, houses, circumstances, living situations, clothing, my identity, my ability to drive. I can lose my health. I can lose so many things, the roles that I exist in. All these things can shatter my feelings and my heart into a million little pieces. But one thing that will never be broken is me. Because even when I feel as if I have lost myself, I didn't really actually lose myself. I'm just kind of hidden deep underneath all this other outer layer of fear, insecurities, or denial. And it just takes a tiny little moment of surrender, self-acceptance, and the willingness to see things a little bit differently. And there I am. I am right there. I feel it. I'm also beginning to realize this concept of me, right? Like who I am. I think it's more than just an identity or a role, but more like a feeling. I'm still trying to grasp my thoughts around it. Anyways, I digress. Let's get into the calendar page. So I created enough calendars for the rest of the year, so July through December, but I also included January, February, and March just to kind of stay ahead of the game, because I know when the end of the year rolls around, I'm gonna want the length of the following 3 months or the certain dates on the certain days in mind for whatever I need to reference at the time. But let's be real. I did it for aesthetic purposes because I wanted the page to look symmetrical and balanced, and having just 6 calendars on the page would leave too much empty space for me. So as you can see, everything is pretty minimal. I cut up some washi to make the strips a little thinner just so they look a little bit more minimal. I lined them up on either side of 2021 above the calendars to kind of act as a border, and then I highlighted every single month in a Ecoline dual brush pen in number 374. Moving on to the future logs, I used that same washi tape to line the borders on the top and bottom of both pages. I wanted to keep the color palette pretty neutral and muted for the entire setup. For these 2 pages, I'm going for a more earthy tone. I wanted to kind of have a little bit more dimension and a layered effect, so I wrote future log on some cream colored paper that I just ripped out of a spiral bound notebook. I made them to be these tiny little tags that I glued on right in the center of the washi tape. All of the monthly headers are done in this very minimal calligraphy style using a Tombow Fudanowski hard tip, and then the monthly calendars are done in a size 01 fine liner. And if you haven't seen my 2021 beginning of the year setup, then I will just quickly explain. The top half of this page spread is for events, holidays, any kind of personal task, and the bottom half is all for content creation that I do on a monthly basis. And obviously, if you are using this format and you are not a content creator, then your work tasks would go in this area. Now let's talk about the intentions page. The format is pretty similar to my other bullet journal setup for the first half of the year. I already talked about it a little bit in the beginning of this video, but I did want to recreate this because some of the categories have shifted and some of my intentions have either changed, or I would like to update them or completely remove them entirely. clarity. Many of you know I don't like the word goals. I like the word intentions a lot better. I think the word goals is just extremely loaded. There's a lot of expectations behind it, and expectations can kind of lead to pressure or disappointment or forcing yourself to do something on a more quick basis rather than going at the speed that you are comfortable with. Because honestly, we are all on our own timeline, and going as slow as we need to is completely valid. So I do think the word intentions is a little bit gentler on our mind and body and spirit. The way I define the word intentions is kind of just putting our aim or plan or whatever it is we desire out into the universe, and not really focusing or putting such heavy expectations on the outcome produced by our actions, but instead focusing on the day-to-day journey. Because I definitely feel more connected to myself and life when I am trying to be in the present moment and kind of not future tripping or anything like that. And sometimes in order to do that, we need to redefine language for ourselves and rephrase certain things so it works for us. So the categories that I would like to create intentions around are Leela journals, YouTube, Instagram, financial, Patreon, Etsy or my stationery shop, personal things, fun things, recovery, fitness and food, relationships, and hygiene. I kept the whole tone of the page kind of playful and whimsical, light, muted, pastel-y, masculine, just kidding. And I added a grid pattern just because I really love that whole Hobonichi look. I hope I said that right. Is it Hobonichi? Hobonichi. I think it's Hobonichi. Moving on, let us create the content creation ideas page and the product ideas page. This is kind of an updated version of what I created in my last bullet journal. I kind of go into a little bit more details with the categories here. So for the content creation ideas page, I found 3 big categories that I normally create my content around. So the first one is just general YouTube videos. The second one is Instagram or Reels. And the third one is the different types of bujo themes that I would like to potentially explore. And then for my product ideas page, many of you know that I have a Patreon and I do ship out Happy Mail and stickers, art prints in the mail. And one of my bigger intentions for the rest of the year is to hopefully open up a stationery shop, because that has just been a big dream of mine that I would really like to turn into a reality instead of just dreaming about it. It's something that I've been sitting on for about 2 years now. I have all these ideas that I would like to implement and express, but I have just not been able to get to it because I've been working on all these other projects, which are also important. And like I said, we are all on our own timeline and our own journey. So I'm not like complaining or anything. I just recognize that it is important to me and I'd like to take action on it. So this page is kind of an inspirational ideas / accountability buddy where I can keep everything I'd like to create out of nothing in one place. So the different categories are stickers, sticker sheets, art prints, washi and memo pads, ephemera, and other. I also just want to say that it is completely okay to complain. I recognize that I may have been judging myself for mentioning that I am not complaining. It is absolutely ridiculous to suggest to someone that they should not be complaining, because we should all be talking about our issues and our problems and whatever we're going through. But also on the flip side of that, people are also allowed to take space for their own mental stability and to be able to communicate that with love and respect. Anyways, once again, I digress. For my content creation ideas page, I did a book doodle and a camera doodle, and then my product ideas page, I did a scissor doodle and a little tiny bow. I tried to relate the doodles with the theme of the page, and then I did a similar type of technique for all of the headers that I used on the future log, so with the washi and then the tag layered on top. And then I simply made it look as if there are a bunch of little vertical long notebooks within each category. Moving on, let's get into my book list page. So during the pandemic, I actually got back into reading, and I mentioned that in one of my YouTube videos actually, and someone called me tone deaf. Maybe my language, the language that I used, was not sensitive to the situation on hand, because I think this person thought I was grateful for the pandemic happening, which as a result led me to read again, which to that I would like to apologize apologize. Never do I want to not be sensitive or not recognize the severity of a situation. What I actually meant to say was that I am grateful for having more time on my hands after losing my job because of the pandemic to be able to get back into reading. I used to read so much when I was a little kid, but as an adult, I just completely stopped. But never do I want to insinuate that people's lives matter less than me having time to read a book. And maybe I said something problematic again in the last few sentences, and I could apologize in advance for that. But also, I am doing the best I can with the language and words that I have, and the more I learn, I will try to correct what I say, where I can help promote a community that fosters, being sensitive to each other, and definitely one that is a little bit more inclusive. Well, not a little bit, but entirely inclusive. Anyways, again, I digress. I think I'm gonna say that a few more times here, so just bear with me. Anyways, back to talking about the bullet journal. So I separated the book list page into 3 separate categories. The first column is for the Patreon book club information or books. The second one is a reading list of all the books that I would potentially like to read. And then the third column is for the books that I've read so far. And the second page here with the shelves with books on it and a plant and a little apple is titled New Words and Quotes. I love words. I love writing. I love learning new definitions of words. And I also love defining the definitions for myself and what feels right within my body. Because words to me are a way to not only be able to communicate to myself, but also to the people around me, what exactly am I feeling or experiencing inside of myself. If I'm going to be completely honest, language has been a topic of insecurity for me that has come up on and off in my life because English was not my first language. My first language was Hindi, and when we moved to America from India, because I was not born here, I was born in India and I moved here when I was around 2 years old, my parents did not know any English really either, so they couldn't really teach me. So as a way to kind of find empowerment within myself, I love to learn new words, and it's not for really anyone else's approval, but instead my own. So what I do is anytime I am reading and I see a word that I don't know, I will write down the definition, and I think it's a great way to learn without adding that pressure or approval of outside validation. So I thought it would be a great idea to document it in my bullet journal. I would actually really like to create a reading journal one day, but I'm just trying to find the time to do that. Let's move on to our next page. This one is all about TV shows, anime, K-dramas, and movies. Before the pandemic happened, I wasn't really much of a TV watcher. I would actually just keep myself so busy that I would never be at home. But since we have been at home, I think I've slightly become addicted to watching television, and I am not afraid to admit that because anything that gives me a little bit of a serotonin boost, I become immediately addicted to. In particular, I am obsessed with K-dramas and anime. Gosh, I don't know what I was missing before. So this page is basically a dedication to my content consumption obsessions. Moving on, I thought it would be helpful to create a end of the year holiday planning page. The end of the year is particularly a very busy time for me because not only am I trying to come up with ideas to give gifts to the people I love, but also I have a lot of content creation that I need to do, like bullet journal planning for the new year and also reflecting on the year we just had. So the top section is all about gifts. So the first column is the person that I will be giving the gift to. The second column is for the gift I decided on, and then the third column is for ideas that I could have. Now that I think about it, I think switching the second and third column would have been better just so that the timeline fits, because obviously I'm going to come up with the ideas before I come up with the gift, but those are just the little things. It doesn't matter too much. Then the bottom left is for the content I need to create, and then the bottom right is for the things I need to get done. Okay, we're almost done here. So this is my last page of my setup, and it is titled Things to Do in My Free Time. So I noticed that after I complete a project or complete a deadline, I go through this weird lull period where I'm just kind of paralyzed and I just waste time scrolling on my phone or just shopping, but not really buying anything, but just looking. And then when the month ends, I wonder, where did all my time go? I feel like I had so much time, but this month just flew by. I think this tends to happen because I end up procrastinating on the things I need to get done, so then I overwork and overstress myself out and I burn out. So I go through this time period where I am just, I think it's called revenge relaxing or something. Don't quote me on that, but it kind of just causes me to forget the small things that I need to get done. So I thought if I just wrote down the mundane things I need to get done, maybe I can procrastinate less and manage my time a little bit better. So the 4 categories I decided on was crafting, organizing, digital, and other. And I know we're getting into the flip through here, but I just wanted to acknowledge that I am not suggesting we remain productive at all hours or seconds of the day, because that might be what I am insinuating, because literally the title of that spread was things to do in my free time. I am just simply saying that I would like to be a little bit more intentional with my time instead of being on autopilot. So even if I do want to mindlessly scroll on my phone, I want that to be an intentional decision and not something that my mind and body is using as a means to escape my restlessness or even my life, because we are trying to generate a life that we do not have to escape from. That way we don't form addictions around things that are completely unhealthy for us. But then again, I don't want to feel shame or guilt around unintentionally mindlessly scrolling either. Moral of the story, I don't really have the answers, so don't listen to me. And we are done with the setup for the second half of the year. Gosh, I don't know about you, but I am feeling good about that. I feel accomplished. Now, I don't know if I should make a video of me like filling it all in like I did at the beginning of the 2021 year. I don't know. I guess let me know in the comments, but I do hope you have a lovely day today. I will see you guys in the next one. And if no one told you they loved you today, I love you so very much.